Imagine you are confined in a room with no windows, everything closed. Somehow you manage to make a hole in the wall. You create this hole and look out to see this marvelous infinite blue sky stretching forever and the lush green fields beyond. You realize that this confined room can never reflect that reality. You become aware of this greater reality and feel charged with energy, singing and dancing and getting wild because of what you see. There are some personalities who reflect this perspective. They catch a glimpse of this greater reality and marvel at it. Then there are those who don't just make a tiny hole to peek through, but instead create a big hole, allowing them to step in and out freely. These individuals can experience the grand sky, step back into the room, and continually transition between these worlds. They represent the second category of spiritual personalities. The first type can experience God for themselves and become ecstatic, singing and dancing. We watch them and wonder what has made them so excited. They have peeked through that hole and are thrilled by the sight. However, the second type can dwell in both this world and the spiritual world. They can enter the spiritual realm at will, as if with the click of a finger. But the story doesn't stop there. With a small hole, you can only peek through. With a huge hole, not only can you step out and see the grand sky, but you can also hold someone else's hand and take them with you. This is the magic of spirituality. Not just experiencing God or a greater reality for yourself, but also sharing this experience with others and leading them to the spiritual realm. It is marvelous to come across spiritual personalities who are God realized, dancing and singing, inspiring us with their joy. But even more remarkable is finding someone who can hold your hand, help you understand, and pull you through to the spiritual realm. These are the marvelous, wondrous personalities who come once in a while, not only to inspire us, but to pull us to a greater realm. Personalities of that caliber are rare and extraordinary. And this individual that I'm going to talk about in this video, Sri Ramakrishna Paramhans, belongs to that category. Let's see how this unschooled man from Kamarpukur, a small village in West Bengal, grew up to be the spiritual guru to some timeless personalities, including the influential Brahmo Samaj leader Keshav Chandra Sen and the Indian youth icon Swami Vivekananda, who carried the universal message of Vedanta to different parts of the world, revitalized Hinduism, and awakened the soul of India. He brought a revolution in the West with his historic address at the Parliament of Religions held at Chicago in 1893. In his teachings, he proved that true spirituality is not a matter of faith or even charity and good conduct, but extends to individual yoga, introspection, and meditation practices so that one can experience the divinity directly within oneself. In his speech, he mentioned, "All that I am, all that the world itself will someday be, is owing to my master, Sri Ramakrishna." Once upon a time, there was an Indian yogi named Gadadhar Chattopadhyay, who later came to be known as Sri Ramakrishna. Gadadhar was born into a poor Brahmin family. He showed signs of spiritual inclination from a young age. His father, Khudiram Chattopadhyay, and mother, Chandramani Devi, were devout Hindus. As a young boy, he attended the village school to learn Sanskrit, but he was often reluctant and would skip classes. Instead, he found joy in painting and crafting clay models of Hindu deities. He was captivated by the folk tales and mythological stories narrated to him by his mother. Despite his aversion to formal schooling, Ramakrishna had a remarkable memory. He absorbed the teachings of Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas, and other sacred texts simply by listening to priests and sages reciting them. Ramakrishna showed a strong inclination towards spirituality from an early age. He experienced moments of spiritual ecstasy triggered by ordinary events. During rituals or while watching religious performances, he would sometimes enter deep trance like states, indicating his deep spiritual sensitivity. One of the earliest stories from his childhood involves a dramatic spiritual experience. At the age of 7, while walking along a paddy field, Gadadhar saw a flight of white cranes against a backdrop of dark thunderclouds. The sheer beauty of the scene overwhelmed him, and he fell into a deep trance. He lost body consciousness and fell down on the ground, and he suddenly experienced this intense feeling of oneness with the entire cosmos. He felt unified with the whole creation. This is the highest spiritual experience any human being can have. This is the height of Hindu philosophy called Advait, where you feel and experience unity consciousness. This is called Brahma Gyan. And this boy at the age of 7, who had not even heard about Advait Vedant or non-dualistic school of philosophy, experienced it firsthand, without any meditation, without any spiritual practices. The first card that he plays in spiritual experiences is the trump card. This was an intense, life-altering experience. This incident foreshadowed his future as a mystic who would transcend the ordinary to touch the divine. At the age of 17, he came to be known as Ramakrishna. During this time, he moved to Dakshineshwar, a small town at the banks of river Ganga, where he became a priest at the Dakshineshwar Kali temple. Ramakrishna's way of worship differed from everyone else. He spent hours adoring Ma Kali's idol, seeing her not as a mere deity, but as a living reality. He would wander off into the jungle at night and meditate all night long, leaving his clothes and sacred thread aside. Kali danced in front of him, ate from his hands, came when he called, and left him in ecstasy. His intense devotion worried his mother, leading her to arrange his marriage to Sharada Devi. However, this did not change him, and he continued to worship Ma Kali with fervor. Despite his body, mind, and emotions being immersed in ecstasy with the visions of Ma Kali, Ramakrishna longed to go beyond this state of ecstasy because he recognized that it was indeed a form of bondage. The student was ready, and it was time for the teacher to make an entrance. One day at the Dakshineshwar temple, this tall, very charismatic man walks in. This man is established in Advait. He is established in the essential nature of reality, that is, I am that. His name is Totapuri, a yogi who lived for over 250 years. He enters the temple garden and sees Ramakrishna sitting there. He looks at his face. His face was glowing with states of bliss, and he immediately recognized that this boy is suitable to receive the knowledge of Advait. He walks to Ramakrishna and says, I wish to teach you Advait, the highest spiritual philosophy. Would you like to learn it? Ramakrishna immediately agreed and went ahead to begin the practices to experience the highest state of meditation. Totapuri recognized that his visions of Ma Kali are a hurdle in his path. Ramakrishna would fall into uncontrollable states of love and ecstasy whenever he had a vision of Kali. Seeing this, Totapuri tells him, the moment you envision Ma Kali, take out the sword of Vivek and chop her in half. When Ramakrishna asked where to get the sword, Totapuri said with a smile, it should come from the same place where your mother goddess was created. During a moment of trance, Totapuri used a piece of glass to cut Ramakrishna deeply across his forehead, prompting him to imagine the sword and cut down Kali into pieces. This act freed Ramakrishna from his attachment to the mother goddess and the ecstasy of feeding off of her, and he went into a deep meditative state for 3 days straight. That is when he truly became a Paramhans. He became fully enlightened. Till then, he was a lover, he was a devotee, he was a child to the mother goddess that he had created. Under the guidance of his guru Totapuri, he attained Nirvikalpa Samadhi. But he wished to experience this state through all religions. He saw these different paths as diverse routes leading to the same destination, that is, union with the divine. Ramakrishna went ahead and explored Islam and Christianity, breaking the strict rules followed by Brahmins in 19th century India. His encounter with a Muslim ascetic inspired him to see God through this religion, and he adopted a Muslim lifestyle for 3 days, even envisioning a bearded man who led him to the same level of spiritual experience. His first encounter with Christianity was during a visit to a follower who read him the Bible. This experience ignited a desire in him to see the world as Jesus Christ did. This was strangely fulfilled when he stared at a picture of Mother Mary and Jesus, which emanated rays of light that struck him deeply. Once again, he had forgotten about Ma Kali, filling his mind with thoughts of Jesus. During this time, while walking outdoors, he believed he encountered Jesus Christ himself. This experience reinforced his belief that all religions shared similar virtues and a true seeker will experience the same spiritual experience through any path. His life itself was his primary teaching tool, and he communicated his spiritual insights through parables, metaphors, and simple stories. One of his famous analogies compared God to a chameleon that changed colors, symbolizing the various forms through which the divine manifests in different religions. He expressed the quintessence of his 12-year-long spiritual realizations in a simple dictum: Yato mat tato path. As many faiths, so many paths. He now habitually lived in an exalted state of consciousness in which he saw God in all beings. Although Ramakrishna never said all religions are the same, he recognized the differences between them. Despite these differences, he saw that all religions have one ultimate goal: making each religion true and equally capable for providing the same state of undistinguishable ecstasy and bliss. As bees swarm around a fully blossomed flower, devotees now started coming to Sri Ramakrishna. He divided them into two categories. The first one consisted of householders. He taught them how to realize God while living in the world and continuing their family duties. The other, more important category was a band of educated youths, mostly from the middle class families of Bengal, whom he trained to become monks and to be the torch bearers of his message to mankind. The foremost among them was Narendranath, who years later came to be known as Swami Vivekananda. After Ramakrishna's death in 1886, Vivekananda and his fellow disciples formed the Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission. This organization aimed to propagate Ramakrishna's teachings and serve humanity through various social and educational initiatives. The Mutt became a beacon of spiritual and humanitarian activities inspired by Ramakrishna's ideals of universal love and service. His life story and teachings have allowed many to regain faith in God. There are several missions that preserve the visions of Ramakrishna, with Belur Mutt being the main organization in Kolkata. The architecture of this building combines elements seen in temples, mosques, and churches, symbolizing unity among religions. Ramakrishna's life story continues to inspire many. He showed that regardless of religious differences, all religions are valid. Through his own personal encounters, he recognized that God is one with many forms and names. People who refer to Allah, Jesus, Shiva, or Kali are ultimately referring to God, that is one infinite consciousness. Despite being deeply rooted in tradition, Ramakrishna's teachings remain relevant and accessible, transcending time and resonating with contemporary audiences across generations. Swami Vivekananda rarely talked about his guru in his teachings. He used to say, "At the best I can show is the breadth of his vision about spirituality, but I can never fathom the depth of this personality. I fail. I will do him disservice if I ever try to describe him in words." If this video sparked a curiosity in you to learn more about this enlightened soul, then I consider my job done here. One of his disciples, Swami Nikhilananda, compiled a work on his life in the book called The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. I have provided the link for the book in the description box below, so in case if you are interested to learn more about this personality, you can go to that link and order the book. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks again for listening. We'll meet again in the next video.